everyone. I'm calling the Town of Saratoga Town Board meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. All right, we're going to dive right into this. First up, garbage and recycling review. As some of you may or may not know, our contract is coming due, so we have to negotiate. We have a couple people that we can take a look at, and I believe, Chase, I'll let you take this from here.
Yeah, we've got waste management, which will not be here.
Next week,
Sure.
or the next meeting, yes.
So they'll be here, I guess, the 16th, but I did also contact Nick from Harder's, to see if they were interested.
You use the mic, we can't hear you.
I contacted Nick from Harder's to get some information, or to see if they were interested in putting a quote in. He's got the information with them, but until numbers are all given out, he doesn't want to necessarily give us final numbers. So I guess, Nick, do you want a microphone here? And
I can talk pretty loud.
We have a microphone
Oh,
there.
okay.
Our things are pretty noisy.
Hello. Boy, this is quite the turn. I've been to city meetings with less people as a turnout, so, my name's Nick. I'm with Harder's Fox Valley Disposal. We're a family-owned trash recycling company. Our motto is we've been picking up garbage or talking trash for 4 generations. So, the Harder family started and still is in La Crosse, Wisconsin, where they started 4 generations ago. About 14 years ago, part of that 4th generation decided to expand the family operation. They set up roots in Wittenberg, Wisconsin. From there, we outgrew that area. We built a new corporate hub in Ringgold, Wisconsin, in Marathon County. We have since opened up a site in Seymour, Wisconsin. And we just, 2 years ago, May, we expanded with our another branch over in Oostburg, just outside of Sheboygan. And just this past May, we purchased a little hauler here, right in Rapids Country Disposal. So now we're setting up shop in your backyard here too. So I happened to go to a meeting with another municipality, and that's where I ran across Chase here, and he was kind enough to ask me to come. So we now service company-wide. We are probably up to about 155 municipalities that we pick up the entire town for trash and recycling. So although we're a family business, we're good size for a family operation. I tell everybody we run lean and mean. There are no vice presidents in our company. You got Mr. Harder, and you got all the workers like me. So try and run with a lot less overhead. I did bring some paperwork as far as the services that we could provide to your township here. I did black out any pricing though, just in case of like what happened tonight. So, but at least it'll give you a representation of what we would be able to provide for you as a customer, okay?
Thank you.
Yep. I did not, I brought 6.
That's okay.
Yep, the 5 board members here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Now, just to touch on a couple things on here that I talked about.
Yeah.
This would be weekly garbage pickup and every other week for recycling.
Correct. Yep. And we would provide the 95-gallon carts for each.
And we'd be looking at, instead of the hand pickup like we're doing now.
It would be fully automated.
Carts, okay.
Correct.
And I believe there was an option, you said, for if residents felt they need a second garbage or recycling receptacle.
Typically, in instances like that, if a resident was to require an extra trash or recycle cart, Thank you. You just want to hold that for me?
I will this.
Typically, if one trash cart did not suffice for a family or one recycle cart, then they could just rent one through us directly with a one-time a year annual payment. And then this way, that cost does not go through the township. And then everything's, across the board is the same for each household.
And then on here, we've got, large item pickup would be in call for each resident to pay that themselves.
Yeah. So we do have it where the resident can call in if they were to have a large item. They could call in and prepay to have that item removed. But I believe also in the regular service, we would provide up to 6 40-yard roll-off containers just one time a year if you were to do like a large item collection for the residents on a one-day event, maybe on a Saturday or something like that.
Okay.
But it would have to be a landfillable items only.
But which would include couches, mattresses,
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But
Not-
no
not
tires,
appliance.
no TVs, no
Okay.
electronics.
We've got a transfer site for tires. And
Sure, good.
That doesn't include electronics.
Right, this would not either.
But yeah, okay.
And it would be up to a township representative to monitor it, obviously. We're not going to man it.
Okay.
But we would drop off, to say, hey, we could use 3 of them, or we'll put in 3, but they'll do all 3.
And we do this like once a year?
Yeah.
You do this?
Yep, yep.
Okay. I do have a question. In looking at the last page, you have the municipalities that you serve. I don't see anything from Wood County. Would we be the
There
first?
is- So no, we do service the town of Hanson, Cranmore. We just set up Village of Arpin. They just received their cards probably about a month ago. And then Cary.
And again, to reiterate, these carts that you would be providing would be for one for each household
One set for each resident.
So
Correct.
garbage and a recycle.
and a recycle.
That is correct.
And they'd be the big ones.
The largest ones, they're 95 gallon. Those are the
Okay.
largest ones.
Okay,
And again, that would be trash. I mean, we did put the option on there for trash weekly, but
For recycling weekly.
I'm sorry, for recycling weekly. But for the most part, 95% of municipalities that we service that utilize a 95-gallon cart for recycling is more than enough on an every other week basis. You might run into a family that has 6 or 7 kids, and they just are real good recyclers. Maybe they would require a second cart then.
You mix paper with all your recycling?
Recycling would all be commingled right inside that cart. We ask that you put it loose in there, do not bag it. Trash, we ask that you bag, but the recycling, we would prefer it's all, and so does the storage centers, they want it all loose. If it's a food item, spaghetti sauce jar, they ask that you rinse it out.
board members, anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are we getting numbers from Waste Management next week?
That's the plan.
Did we get one with your numbers and a sealed envelope within the next 2 weeks? And our next meeting is the 16th. So we can open it there so we can compare what we need.
Yes, matter of fact, I have a whole set with numbers on it. I can leave them. I would probably, if you like, I could leave them tonight, because I'm going in for surgery next Tuesday.
Okay. That would be a good idea then. Do you have them sealed in an envelope now or?
I'll lick it right now and see.
Lick it now and we'll open it the night we receive
That
the
sounded
other.
kind of bad, I apologize.
We're good.
Just so it's all above board sealed and
Yeah.
we don't open it till then. So that'll work.
All in the family. All right. Moving on to updates since the last meeting. Constable report first, please.
Yep, so I have a report. We, was a little busier month and we were able to narrow it down to
4 total unlicensed dogs that received citations.
That's all we got left, huh?
That's it.
Amazing job, you guys. Thank you. Very, very good. All right, who else we got here?
The unlicensed vehicles on there, we send fines for.
I'm sorry, what?
The unlicensed vehicle on there?
See the fourth one down.
Yeah.
Do
They're just a number of unlicensed vehicles at a property or?
you want me to address that?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a gentleman who lives on the corner of County Trunk Z and Ratinger. And he has a house there. He does not live there. However, he brings his antique cars there to display about once a week. He lines them up so that everybody can drive by and oogle them and, you know, reminisce. And then he takes them back home at the end of the night. That's basically what it is. And realistically, I stopped and looked. So that's what it is. Anyone else? Anything? How did the dog at large turn out on the highway?
I don't really have any evidence to write a citation at this time. Go to the warning letter.
Okay, all right. Thank you. All right, moving on to the building inspector. Josh?
I have a report there for you. There's 12 permits for the month of July. 12 permits for the months of July. Two new houses, 5 electrical permits, a couple decks, 1 fence, 1 early start for a new home because he didn't have his documentation quite ready. And no complaints or nothing else out of the ordinary this month.
Josh, do you happen to know how many new houses that we've had this year so far?
This year so far, I don't. Last year, I did it at the end of the year. Last year, there were 29. This year, I would say we're just on track to be a little less than that,
Okay.
but there are already 3 for next month, so.
I find that amazing with the economy the way it is and the price of building materials that people are still building.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, anybody else have any questions for John? You're good to go? Thank you
All right.
very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the zoning administrator. Oh, that's me. As you all know, we are continue to work on the zoning ordinance. And I'm not sure everybody's aware or not aware, but this zoning ordinance was not tied to the grant. So this zoning ordinance has no time frame. Just so you're aware of that. The Plan Commission has been working on the mobile home ordinance, trying to separate it from the recreational vehicles. So they're moving forward with that. I have supplied them with a kind of a breakdown of what's in it and what absolutely needs to be changed, but they're going to take a look at that this month. And I think that's about it for now. Can you think of anything else, Gordy, you guys are working on at the Plan Commission?
Yeah, this would be.
Yes, true that. Thank you.
Question?
Yes, sir.
Which grant are you talking?
There was a grant, so when the comprehensive plan was redone, the previous administration had a grant to help with the comprehensive plan and 2 other plans that went along with this. And in order to fulfill the requirements of that grant, it had to be done by the end of last month, and we fulfilled that. But the zoning ordinance is referenced in this, so therefore,
there was a question whether the zoning ordinance had to be done along with it, and it did not. So that's why the zoning ordinance is still underway. There's no time frame for that to be done, nor is there a grant that is tied to it. Anything else? Okay. Moving on, road crew, Caston has off for the evening, and we're going to listen to Douglas.
I'll start out with Range Line Road. As you folks know, that has been paved, that's probably about a week now. Shouldering, we hope to get done on the next rainy or cool day. I don't want them to go on there when it's so hot. It doesn't work well, so. Chase and I did look that over. We accepted what they have. So I moved forward with paving on Ranger, or the town has. I talked to the county and they'll be pulverizing sometime in August, shaping, and then early September paving that. And that's from Z to 13. The dips, we had 15 dips throughout the town. We finished them up today. There were 14 on 52nd and one on Aqua. One other thing that the board has to do, we have to put a bid package together for patching of the dips. We did that last year, so I'll talk to Paulette about that. One other thing, we need some gravel for stockpile, so we'll have to talk to the board about that and put up a stockpile. We use most of our gravel in inventory on the dips. Really don't have any questions on any of that.
Thank you, Doug. Oh, excuse me. I'll talk loud. Just a question, since I use 52nd all the time. How long do you have to wait for those dips to settle before you pave them?
I'd like to learn 2 months or even, if I could wait if we could wait over winter would be best. They are paver patches, so they may settle a little bit over winter, but they should stabilize much more than what they are right now. Every one of them dips that we've taken out, we've found stumps and black organic matter, so that doesn't do any good underneath the road. If you're gonna pave a road, you certainly don't want to pave over that. Any other questions?
Trying to find out why the range line was paved. Why that was selected to pave, but not like Hollywood's a disaster. Why range line? Because that seemed pretty good.
Actually, by our ratings, no, the range line was that was a seal coat. And obviously, when they did the solar project, they really pounded that thing, so it was a lot worse shape than what you were thinking. We rate every road, we use Pacer ratings, so we know where we're at, so that's how we had it, what we paid.
It's not by traffic.
Well, that has something, if you have a tie, that it always goes to traffic. If you have two roads that are rated the same, the one that has the most traffic will get paid first. Obviously, some of these roads, they create a danger with the dips and things like that, so we move them forward.
I go range lines, we went right in like Hollywood. Perfect job of it. Wonderful. But Hollywood, which is a tremendous one, there.
We did put in for a grant on Hollywood a year or so ago, didn't get it, so it is in the works. Obviously, we have 100 miles of road.
Wow.
Somebody's first and somebody's last.
Just wondering how the priority is set.
And Doug, just to reiterate that, to talk to that gentleman, I don't mean to kind of talk under the screen, I guess. But we did get monies from the solar farm to help us with range line. That's why that had a higher priority also. If somebody wants to give us money towards another road, we'll take it, we'll do it.
Not only did we have solar farm, we also had a town road improvement funding on that, about 25,000, so. That's why that was moved. We apply for that, we apply for them things most every other year. Any other questions?
Brian Ham here out from Wilderness Lane. Just got a dead end road out toward the 10 Mile Creek with about, I don't know, 6 residences on there, half-mile stretch. And that particular road, we all take pride in keeping our ditches mowed, and we can't hardly do that anymore because the snow plows are actually grading the top of that, the side of the tar is actually filled up in the ditches. Just curious if at some point Wilderness Lane could get on the docket for a redo. We do all pay our taxes. Thanks.
Yeah, and if you do see that where they're plowing the shoulder in the ditch, please let us know. Obviously, there's conditions throughout the year that when them shoulders are getting soft, they are supposed to stay off of it. So, and there are times they think it looks better when it's plowed off, but you can do a lot of damage.
Right.
County guys were the same. They love to plow them shoulders off, but what happens, all your gravel ends up in the ditch, and that's not where you want it.
We've got chunks of tire, big as supper plates on our ditches out there right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Douglas. All right, moving on, Plan Commission. Josh?
Working on mobile home ordinance and the land subdivision ordinance. And, we'll be discussing the zoning on agenda item 10. I got nothing to do.
Okay. All right, thank you. Clerk?
We did complete all of the Atlas tile reimbursements, so that's taken care of.
Everybody hear that? Okay, so the address tiles have been completely reimbursed, so we're now clean. The ones that were put in by the county and that the people had paid for themselves, we reimbursed them. We're good there. Anything else? Billy Joe, treasurer?
August 16th, will be our town audit at the end of that board meeting. And I'm happy that all personal property taxes have now been paid. I received the last payment today, so I was happy to see that. July 31st was the end, for the real estate taxes. We did get some residents that dropped them off or sent them here, and we are forwarding them to Wood County for them to receive them in.
Anything else? All right.
So I have a question. As part of the budgetary process, there was money allocated for an independent audit of the town of Saratoga. Is that slated to happen in 2023?
Are you asking me, Roger? Because I do not have it scheduled as of yet. And I wasn't aware of it, so yeah, I'll take a look, see what's going on with that. Informational announcement by board members. Who wants to start? Raise your hand. Brian.
Just a couple things. Probably like most of you, I received quite a few calls the last 2 weeks. On vacation for one of those, so I'm sorry I got back late to a lot of you. I try to reach out to everybody that does call. Most of them were about zoning. I did also have a call about when they were doing the road work on Range Line. I was fortunate to run into Doug and also talk to Chase, and that question was answered through them for her. Also, going on the website for the town of Saratoga, I see that Boz is still on there as the zoning administrator. You could probably take him off at this time. Also got a junk complaint today, so I passed that on to Brandon, so he's aware of it, and we'll be taking care of that and looking into that. For some of you also that emailed me, I'm not ignoring you. but I was able to figure out my emails today. So with the help of our IT guy, for some reason, this computer is still going to the .org email. So it should be updated to the .gov now. So I should be, I see I do have some emails to go through now. So I will be getting back to you guys as well.
Thank you, Brent.
Pass it on, John.
I have also fielded calls in regards to zoning. We're gonna be talking about that later, so don't need to discuss that now, I don't think.
Okay.
Took couple other calls about truck routes, when people had to stay on truck routes and when they could go off the truck route. I believe I answered their question correctly. If they have to deliver to a site, they are to take a truck route to the nearest intersection, is that correct? Like, they have to stay on the truck route as long as they can? Yeah. And then take the shortest path to that site and back out?
General practice on that.
So, I got 2 calls this week. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's only if it's posted Class B, which most of them are.
Okay.
That they must take the shortest distance in and shortest distance out for deliveries only.
Roger, welcome back from vacation.
Thanks, Laurel. I appreciate that.
You're up.
Okay, like the other board members, I received quite a few emails and phone calls in regards to different topics in regards to governmental town business. One of them is, Madam Chair, we need to add public comment back on the agenda for every meeting that we hold as town board. It's not listed on there. It hasn't been listed on there the last 2 meetings that I've been in attendance at, and it's been brought to my attention that it should be listed on there. So let's add that back, please. Talking with yourself and Gordy in regards to some of the opportunities for moving the old town hall. Gordy was looking into some costs through Peterson Builders in regards to moving that to the Wakely area. They're interested in that building. Obviously, the owner needs to be contacted, and if he'll give up that building, then we need to figure out what kind of funds through grants or donations that we could move that building down into that area. They want to take it and restore it and use it for some recreational purposes in their regards down there. So more to come on that. As far as the Wisconsin River Power boat landing down there that they own, that's partially in Saratoga. That's got to be a part of a bigger project in any regards to any means to improvement there that needs to be submitted through Wisconsin River Power Company and taken back through FERC licensing and asset managers to improve that area down there. And that would be also grant money that would be pursued through various amenities to try and even do that project. So that's a long-term project. I guess you put in for the grant, Lorelei, through the seed committee. We appreciate you putting in for that. What the status of that grant was not accepted for our sign in front of the town hall. Is that correct?
I'll get to that.
Okay. So
Excuse me, she needs to, you need to say,
I will get to that in a moment.
we
Thank you.
need to hear yes or no, we need to hear yes or no, ma'am.
Again, I will get to that in a moment.
Go ahead.
Okay, so a lot of calls, emails on the zoning concerns. One of the documents come through the whole town board and submitted in the public record that the whole board, since the zoning, planning and zoning committee worked on the documentation for the last 18 months and voted on 6-1 to accept the language there. It's brought back to the town board. The whole town board needs to be working on it, just not a individual. And we got to be careful how we're posting information out on the town website, because that's all part of public record also. So that's one concern that I got from an individual that went to the whole board. Another one from another family in regards to zoning that's being worked on by one individual solely, the chair lady. Thankful for the work that's being done, but don't think it's fair that the whole board is not involved on the input and the decision-making of the zoning that's coming up in the near future, hopefully. So another concern from another family, in regards to zoning. So they're addressing you, Lorelei, personally, and the significant changes that have been proposed to the zoning, and that there should very well be the whole board involved, and if things are going to continue the way they're going, that you recluse yourself from the vote when the zoning document is set to be voted on by the town board. So a general rule, no public official may participate in making or in any way use or attempt to use his or her official position to influence a governmental decision in which she knows or has reason to know he or she has a financial interest. It's an ethical document and concern, so I guess we got to be careful how we're conducting business. So there's concern on the changes that were made in regards to the rural residential and rural preservation lot sizes. There was one individual that expressed concern also in the way when they were trying to make comments when the planning and zoning was meeting, and didn't think that they were allowed the ability to speak their means and have input on how things in regards to business was being discussed and decisions made. So they're asking for a reclusal from you in regards to any future vote, Lorelei, and I'm going to leave it at that. I have nothing else to report.
Thank you. Chase?
All right. I received many of the same things the others did about zoning. I won't go on any further about that in the interest of quick time. Other than that, I did contact Nick from Partners there. And they are very interested in working with us. And also still in the process of working on looking at camera systems for either in here so we can keep that in the hall, or in the hall so we can keep that here. Haven't quite finished that yet, but still in the process of it.
Thank you, Jason. All right, I will let you know that next week we have an electrician starting. He's going to be wiring, doing the preliminary wiring for the security system. The security system will be installed the last week of the month. Is that right? He said it will take about 2 weeks to install. So we do have the security system going on in outside the buildings for the parking lot and the back area and outside the main building. So that will be starting. They just received the equipment after all this time, but I guess it's like everything else, it's on a backlog. So that being said, what else we got going on? Anything else? I think that's about it. So that's about all I got. All right, moving on. Approval of previous minutes. Did everyone have a chance to take a look at those? I know you've been on vacation, Roger, but hopefully you had a chance to take a look. Anyone see any issues?
I make a motion to accept Wednesday, July 5th Meeting minutes. July 5th?
Thank you.
19th, yes, I'm sorry.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion by Brian and a second by Chase. All those in favor?
Okay.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen. Approve the policy and procedure manual for the town employees. Everyone has received the personnel policy and employee manual, along with the updates that are recommended by the attorney, which unfortunately I didn't have time to put in there, so I left it up to you to insert them where they need to be. Are there any questions?
Just a suggestion. A suggestion under personnel conduct and discipline, D1B. The language is not the strongest. The last part of, we got good employees here and hopefully we never have any concerns, but the fact of the matter is where lists the fifth offense will be assumed you no longer wish to work for the town of Saratoga. That should read, you will be terminated.
Okay. How do you want to verbalize that, Roger? Just after the parentheses of the second written warning, just cross off the,
If you want to give them a fifth offense, then it's, you will, if there's a fifth offense, you will be terminated.
Fifth offense will result in termination.
okay. Anyone else? Yes, please.
In regards to that, in section B, I believe the way that's worded in there is so that it's considered that the employee is quitting based on their own actions, but with what Roger just suggested, then that is called termination by the employer. So that, in my opinion, that's two different things, and I think that's what his goal was there. So which way do you want to go with?
I don't have the thing from the attorney. Do you have it there?
I have it here if you'd like to reference the document. It's on the second page, on the top. Oh, the reference document from Flanagan. It says, under D1B for disciplinary guidelines, I greatly caution you to include that there are 2 verbal warnings and 2 written warnings for the list of A through J. I recommend we follow progressive discipline, certainly, but where a worker were to be caught for theft or operating under the influence of drugs or alcohol, I wouldn't suspect we'd ever give a verbal warning first. I would think that there would be a written warning of discipline up to and including termination. I recommend modification of the section, so that adds a little bit more verbiage on to what we
Yeah, I think
previously discussed.
I think you're right.
There's also a couple things in here that would make it awful hard for them to do their job in general. Loss of license on there, if that was one act and one of the 5, that's gonna make it awful hard to do a job when they are required to drive company equipment like that.
So what I'm getting from you guys is that you want these separated so that there is not warnings for some things and others are just an immediate termination?
I think we need that. Under the influence of alcohol and drugs, I think that's that's something we can't really tolerate, period. The loss of license, I don't know if there's possibly something we can work with on there, but I think we need a couple categories here. There are a couple things that would necessitate immediate termination, I believe.
All right.
Excuse me? I think you also need to reference that a CDL, your blood alcohol is 0.04 for driving. If you want to, and if you get stopped and get and lose your license, it should be termination, as far as I'm concerned. You should reference the blood alcohol in there so that they understand that they're at a 0.04.
Well, that is only while they're driving a CDL vehicle.
No, it isn't. You have a CDL on your license, you are holding to that.
Okay.
That's what you wish. Fine.
So this document has been worked on previously by the Personnel Policy Committee, and there's some good guidelines here after legal counsel reviewed it. And I guess for now, if the board agrees, we should table it and review it and bring this back at the next meeting for approval.
With the changes.
We should look at what the lawyer had referenced here and then mark up the document accordingly if needed, and then bring it back to accept it.
I agree.
So let's table it for now.
Okay, we can do that. Do we need a motion to table that? Pardon? Roger, would you like to make that motion to table it?
I make a motion that we table the employee handbook policy format until the next meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Roger, a second by Josh to table the employee handbook until it is in a better form, and hopefully at the next meeting, we can approve it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Operators licenses?
Excuse me, you're supposed to put opposed and motion carried. Robert's rule of law. You're supposed to ask for anybody opposes this.
Anyone opposed? I hear no opposition. Carried. Are there any operator licenses? Pay town bills, does everyone have a copy of the bills? Oh, I'm sorry.
Did we get the trailer with the roller
Yes.
delivered?
I'm not sure.
And full of gas?
Last I talked to Cass, and I don't think it was here yet.
Make a motion to pay town bills.
Second motion.
I have a motion by Josh and a second by Roger to pay town bills. All those in favor? All against? Motion carried. I did just wanna, I forgot to tell, everybody in the, informational announcements that, yes, I had applied for a grant for a sign, as Roger had stated. And when the seed committee met, Bill Lightman is the head of the seed committee, and I just want to tell him thank you for supporting Saratoga, because he did make a motion to give us $5,000, but unfortunately it didn't pass. So we do not have that $5,000 to put towards a sign out here in the front. I did ask how I could have maybe made the grant a stronger grant, and the committee thought that the grant was good enough. It's just that they were not giving money out for signage this year. So we're gonna have to look at another way to possibly fund a sign. We've come up with other ideas. The reason that we're kind of looking at a sign is because Alliant has offered to give us some money towards a sign, exactly $15,000. We thought that was a lot of money, but then we went out and priced signs, and we found that they're upwards of over $40,000 for what Alliant would approve for a sign for us. And that's with, what do you call that, Gordy? A reader board on it, yeah. So it's got to be an electronic sign. And that's actually what we want, because we want to make sure that everybody can see everything as they drive by. So I'm sorry I didn't bring that forward last time, so. All right, so now we're going on to the review of the zoning ordinance to possibly change the minimum lot sizes and setbacks. This is what everybody's here for, what everybody's near and dear to their hearts, and we're good. So I have received a lot of pushback from this, and I'm sorry that people out there feel that it was me who was making all of these changes. However, I think my board now realizes that it is attorneys, because I have sent a copy of the emails from the attorney to all of my board members. The changes I personally made was putting definitions into the ordinance. I did redesign the configuration of the criteria for looking at for a plan review. I used all of the verbiage that's in here. I just reorganized it to make it more readable. I did change the lot sizes in 2 of the districts to what I thought would make it more compatible as a zoning administrator. And a previous building, oh, I'm sorry, Josh. And a previous building, is this one working?
It's working better.
Okay. And a previous building inspector. I didn't do it for any, I have no gain here, I guess. There's no monetary gain for me on this. I live in the 1 acre. This is not being changed. So there's nothing for me there. But what is here for me is I live here. I have been active with this town for 15 years. I want what is best for Saratoga. I will not be bullied. I will not be pressured. I will not be coerced to do what someone else wants. I am going to do what I think is best for Saratoga in my estimation. What the board members say and do in their estimation is fine. I have no problem with that. As far as having an open meeting, I have always been open. If anyone wants to talk, all they have to do is raise their hand. I don't have to have it on an agenda for people to talk. Just raise your hand. I think everybody in this room knows that. My board members and the people out in the audience. I don't have secrets. I'm not in this for anything except to make sure that we're legal. I have talked to planners. I have talked to Will County Planning and Zoning. I have asked for the advice from our attorney. If that looks like I'm doing it all, so be it. My board, if they had a problem with it, they had ample opportunity to speak up. The Plan Commission has had this, yes, for 18 months. They've had their say. It came to the board for us to review it, to look at it, to make changes that we thought needed to be done. If any of my board members wanted input, they could have done it. I have no problem with that. I guess I don't know how to even go from here because I've been getting a lot of pushback, but I'm not gonna stop. If it gets to where everybody thinks this is all about me, it will go back to the Plan Commission. Plan Commission can take it from there. I have done my best, and I am not gonna stop doing my best because there are a few individuals out there who don't like what I've done. As far as putting it on the website, I put it on the website for everyone to see. All I hear is full disclosure, be open, be honest, tell everybody what's going on. I did that. I put the draft out there. I called it a draft. You'll see different colors in there. So apparently I'm not the only one making changes. So the Plan Commission made changes. Boz, the previous zoning administrator, made changes. The changes that I made are in purple. Those are the ones that were recommended by the attorney, or they are definitions, or they are something that I thought would make something flow. So what I thought would make something flow was the changing of the 2 lot sizes, because we have in the rural residential, is that correct? Rural residential, we have right next to rural preservation. And then we go to rural residential, and then we go to rural preservation. So if this guy is my neighbor, and he gets to build on 3 acres, and I have to have 5, and then this guy gets 3, why did you single me out? So I thought it would be uniform. Okay, I guess not my best thought, but that's still open to discussion. It was a thought, it was a draft. So there it is. And as far as my attendance for these Plan Commission meetings and having time to speak out, I don't know how I could attend Plan Commission meetings when I'm in Florida 4 months or in Eau Claire. So I was not at all the meetings, no matter what people say. I wish they would get facts straight. But I can only defend myself so far, and I can only defend my own actions. But I still am going to stay the course. I will talk to the attorneys, the Plan Commission, planners, whoever else I have to talk to keep us legal. If that's wrong, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to stop. And I am not going to recuse myself from voting because I think that I am doing what I have to do for the town of Saratoga. When I got elected, it was because people thought I had integrity. I believe I do. And I'm gonna do what I think is best for Saratoga, and hopefully my board will do what they think is best for Saratoga. And as a team, we will make that decision. And that's all I want. Now, let's get into this. Yes, Brian.
Madam Chair, I'm going to keep this very respectful, but we do have to get it out on the table. And that is that the last meeting, those purple numbers showed up. You said ahead of time that there were not large changes, and 50% reduction from a 6-to-1 vote on rural preservation from 5 down to 2.5 on your thought process. That's a big change. You also said at our last meeting that you were going to be working with the attorneys and that there's some legal issues potentially there.
Yes.
Fine and good. How can you have possibly put those 2 numbers, reduced them, prior to getting any legal advice? Because at that time, you had not had the legal advice. You told us that the next meeting, you were going to be bringing a legal representative here to speak. Did anybody else hear that? So It's my opinion, and I don't know what the attorneys are telling you. I'm not an attorney. Maybe the planning commission has got this wrong. I don't know. But all I know is that townships change ordinances all the time. There's ways to monitor things for lot sizes as time evolves. So we work hard. Yes, you were not at all the meetings. You were at the big ones. When it started to talk about land, you were at everyone front and center with your family. I'm just respectfully, I'm just respectfully telling you that this whole thing is starting to take a pretty good stink on, and it's not a good look for the town board of Saratoga right now. I would really, really, really ask that you rethink your stance on sending this thing back to the planning commission. We voted 6-1. We used the town people's voices, not Lorelei Fear's voice. You said, I will do what's best for this town. How about letting the residents tell you what to do, what's best for this town? Thank you.
I will address, and as far as talking to the attorney, I did ask the attorney to attend the meeting tonight, and he did tell me approximately a week ago he could not be in attendance. So I did ask him. I did get the attorney's opinion back in June. Is that when this is? July 4th. I haven't just talked to the attorney this week. July 4th. July 25th, July 31st. There's been some ongoing emails in regards to this zoning. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to the attorney because it's been so many. But the emails are here for my board members to see. And the very first thing that Nick said was, I guess I should quote it here. Is this the first one? This is the very first email from Nick Flanagan dated Thursday, June 15th, the very first one. At the end of the email, finally, regarding changing lot sizes in districts, I recommend looking closely at the lot sizes currently in all the districts. Changing lot sizes can create legal non-conforming lots due to size and therefore substandard. Although the law has been changed regarding allowing building on substandard lots, you also wouldn't want to create a large number of substandard lots in a zoning district. I note the same considerations for lot frontage adjustments in RS1. But there's 2 pages of changes from the very first time that I talked to him, and then there's a couple pages every time that I talk to him. They're not all changes. Everybody assumes that I'm coming back on the plan commission and really riding them over the rail. I do agree they had 18 months to do it. I agree with that. But they didn't have the resources. They didn't have the attorneys. They didn't contact Worth County. They didn't talk to a planner. These are resources that when you make a change to a large document like this, and just so you know, this is not an update, this is an amendment. When you make a large change to a document like that, every time you make a change, you should really check what the ramifications are. I feel like that's my job as a zoning administrator, but that's our job as the board to make sure that when this has to be legally enforced, that we have, number 1, the teeth, number 2, we have the verbiage, and that's where we come in. That's all we're trying to do. Changing that to 2.5 acres, yeah, I took that to heart. I thought it would be a really good way to compromise, but if the board doesn't agree, then the board doesn't agree. I'm only one person. I don't make the rules. I just try to enforce them as a zoning administrator and bring things forward that could potentially hurt the town of Saratoga. So, Anybody have anything to say on the board?
Let's get this question out of the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
I'm Clark.
Can you use a microphone? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, I'm really shaky, always am. I questioned the 18 months of the planning commission as my wife was on it for almost 20 years. This plan is not a new thing. It's been going on a long time, and she was chased off by pressure and intimidation and not wanting to listen to what people were doing. So she's sick at home. It's been a long time, not 18 months.
May I have that microphone, please? Thank you.
Sir, could you please tell me what your name is? I'm sorry, I don't know.
Me?
Yes.
I'm Clark Snyder. I'm
Okay.
Sarah Jane's husband.
Sarah Jane's husband. Okay, thank you.
And I'm Bruce Demick. Lorelei, I'm going to ask you to recuse yourself from not only voting on these, on the zoning, but you really should recuse yourself from the discussion because you have a conflict of interest. And if you're not willing to do that, which appears that you're not, I'm going to refer this case to the Wisconsin Ethics Commission.
Please do. Please do. I'm all for that. Go for it. Anybody else? All right. Oh, yes, sir.
So my name's Trevor Shulinsky. I am trying to build a house in Saratoga
Yes.
for my family. Where can I find the difference between the residential, suburban, and the rural? So I know where we're at. We've submitted paperwork. We were told we had to go out and this is what the minimum needs to be. We went an acre above the minimum and everything has been done. Paperwork's here, waiting. And we don't know if we can even do anything. And we've already have money vested in this.
You can do it. Right now, this is not in effect. We have a minimum of a 1 acre lot here in the
Which
town
we
of
have two.
Saratoga. So you're fine. Even if this does go through, you'd still be grandfathered. You're grandfathered non-conforming, but the lot already exists. And according to Act 67, you have a non-conforming lot, but you can still build on it if you can meet the other requirements other than the minimum size lot. That's a law.
So even though it's surveyed, but it's not approved by the board yet.
The survey is surveyed to, do we know this?
There's one, I'm not sure which one it is, but there's one on Pine Commission's agenda next week.
And what was the last name, please?
I think you're on the meeting with.
Okay. Well, it would still go through because this is not gonna become an effect like tomorrow. So
Okay.
you're still grandfathered.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for taking an interest in Saratoga.
If you do want to find out your zoning too, we have a zoning map in the office. You stop in, well, there you can see where your zoning currently is.
Okay, thank you.
You can actually see what your property is zoned on the GIS. I'm from Wood County. It's a layer and it is in there. It's a little confusing to get to, but you can get to it. But if you ever do have any questions, my cell phone number is on the door. And it's been that way for 20 years and everybody knows it. And I answer and if I don't, it goes to voicemail, I call you right back.
Thank you.
I'll answer any questions you got. Otherwise, of course, you know Josh is the building inspector and he can help you there. Okay, so moving forward, we have a decision. And Bruce, as I said, I won't be bullied or pressured. So moving forward, are we going to have a discussion on this or do we want to send this back to the Plan Commission? This is something my board has to decide.
is the plan commission interested in taking it back? They voted on it 6-1 with a proposed ordinance document and sent it to the board. And there's been changes that have been made to that document. Now, why do we have to send it back?
Okay.
If there's some things in there that need to be addressed, Lorelei, dot the i's, cross the t's, and make it a thorough document, fine, but when some of these concerns, people they're not happy. I mean, Gordy, are you guys gonna take it back in the planning and zoning? I don't know that that's the right way to go.
I look at this a couple different ways. Sorry I got sore throat, but I think we're blessed to have Lorelei with her experience here as, obviously the chairperson, but as a zoning administrator. And so I look at what she recommended here as a zoning administrator. And the same thing Boz did, he had put these in here and then we would hash it around. Now, the plan commission has not had a chance to look at her recommendation. Okay, we knew this thing was gonna get tweaked. We knew that. She came up with more things than any of us realized that maybe weren't legal based on attorney and things like that. If you want it, I would recommend, or I'm just throwing this out to you, that you take specific areas you want us to look at as a plan commission. Lot size, whatever they are, just specific things, not the whole document. And we'll go back, public input, rehash around, and give you a vote from the plan commission on those specific areas. The problem when you have a document like this, you have to take it yes or no. That's where you got the 6-1. If you start breaking it out in individual areas, it wouldn't have been 6-1. Would have been, closer. More of a split. We're as split as you guys, this board. So I'll throw that out to you if you want to take specific things, take it back, public input again, but we're going to come back with individual recommendations on each topic you asked us for.
So if we sent it back to the plan commission with the emails that we have received from the attorney as direction,
We didn't have any of that.
and I will put the town's attorney at your disposal as the chairman, and I will be in attendance as the zoning administrator interim for the town, not as the town chairman. Would that suffice? Town board? I'm looking for your input.
I believe, yeah, just basically the purple items are what you would have to look at. Is that my understanding? Because that,
No,
as the
there's-
building inspector or the zoning
there's-
administrator, that is what you are proposing to change.
There's a couple items on there yet that has not been addressed.
From the attorney.
From the attorneys. Based on the attorney's advice in the last email, you will see that being that we are changing lot sizes, regardless of how they're changed, I really don't care. But regardless of how they're changed, we still have to address those changes. We are still going to have non-conforming lots, regardless if we change lot sizes, don't change lot sizes, because a lot of the setbacks have changed, a lot of the, I guess setbacks would be the main thing, but anything that makes the lot or the buildings non-conforming, we have to address that. Somewhere in our ordinance, we have to say how we're gonna handle that. On the advice of the attorney and included in your packet is a draft, something that we can look at to incorporate. Plan commission can look at that too. So, that again is under the advice of the attorney. Now, a lot of you may think that this attorney may be not worth his salt, but I'll tell you something, this attorney is probably the best land attorney in the mid-Wisconsin area. Anybody you talk to tells you, talk to Nick Flanagan. Bill, you can attest to this, tell me that.
He's one of the best attorneys around. He has 17 townships that he does, he has 3 cities, and he's the best around.
And-
very reasonable.
And he came from the Wisconsin Towns Association.
Yeah. He was top in his class.
Yes, he was. And I'll tell you all why I'm running to Stevens Point to talk to the planner there. The planner that works at the Village of Clover in Stevens Point was the Wood County planner, and he left Wood County to go to Clover. His replacement was from the town of Rome. I didn't really think that you would like me talking to the town of Rome planner. So I've been driving up to Stevens Point or having phone conversations with Adam Decline in regards to planning. So.
And he lives in a town of Grand Rapids also.
Yeah, but he can only talk to me on his lunch or after hours, of course, because his main job is to Clover. And let's see, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm confused about grandfather clause and non-compliance.
Okay.
What is the difference between the two? Because I thought anything that is in existence now will be grandfather clause in. How has it become non-compliant if it exists now before the stop?
It's not non-compliant, it's non-conforming.
Non-conforming, okay.
Non-conforming just means it doesn't mean our current restrictions, like in some of our zoning, you're gonna find that some of our old lots even are only like a half an acre. And they're non-conforming lots. So does that mean that we shouldn't allow anybody to do anything on that? Well, that's how the state statute's read. But back in 2016 maybe, Act 67 addressed that and said, if that lot is next to somebody who actually owns the lot next door, we can't make him join lots to make that one non-conforming. It says that that lot has all the rights of this guy's lot over here who has 3 acres, except he has to meet all the other criteria in our zoning for that lot other than the lot size. So they kind of took that out, that you can't hold him to that he can't do anything with that lot because it's too small. So he still has to meet the setbacks. If it's too small to meet the setbacks, then yeah, he can't build on it. I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
I'm a little confused.
Sure.
What's wrong with the way it was before? Why did we have to change it? Why did we didn't want to change it?
The way our zoning was before, it's left a lot of loopholes. The fight with Wysocki is our biggest one that you can say that there were some loopholes that were there that they need to be filled in order to move this town along in a process that makes sense.
So,
I think I got it.
so if you have an acre lot, you can't sell it. Unless you're in a specific area.
Okay, I really think.
I don't know if I'm the only one that's confused.
I think really the driver of this whole thing was the solar farm coming in. The initial solar farm is how many acres? I seen Rhonda out here somewhere.
1,200.
1,200. Okay, so the first solar farm is 1,200, the second one is about the same size. So that's taking up a lot of our green space, a lot of our woods that everybody played in. Everybody got to walk, hike, do whatever they wanted in it. Okay, so now it's gated. Now we got all the animals pushed out of there. We've got the animals floating around everybody's yard. Nobody can walk on paths because it's all gated. So they like that rural feel. I agree. I love the rural feel. I love the trees. I like the nature. So in preserving that, they feel if they hold the building minimum lot size to 5 acres, that'll detour a lot of people from building on smaller parcels of land. I believe that was the driver. Gordy, thank you.
That for the MFL land and then the water issue. So we know that. That's
Okay. Oh, there you are, Rhonda. Please, can you address that for us?
Essentially, it was brought to the plan commission The thought of expanding lot size, because this land has been previously wooded with no septics, no drain fields, that sort of thing, no runoff. And the UW has studies out, and there are many other studies pertaining to groundwater quality, which was at risk with the Wysocki project, that it's far better to prevent contamination than it is to try to clean it up after. Therefore, the recommendations of all of the studies are, before the contamination, expand the lot sizes so that we don't end up having to have municipal water or sewer and that sort of thing, because that certainly adds a lot to what the taxpayers are going to pay for.
Thank you, Ren. So that was one opinion. Okay, go ahead.
So how do they sell lake property down there if they don't have 3 or 5 acres?
And you're talking about Rome or about NEPCO? NEPCO. Okay, so as a lot of you know, that when you build a house here, you have to put in what they call a POUT system, private on-site waste treatment system, septic system. In order to do that, you have to approach Wood County, and they tell you that, okay, where are you going to put it? They do boring samples to test what kind of soil you have. They look at that soil, they determine what your soil composition is, how fast it will drain, and then they design a system, or they use one of their model systems that they have, and they tell you, so you have to have 4 feet below your drain field in order to get adequate drainage. 4 feet, that's it. So, the 1 acre came about years ago. They used to have old drain fields with fingers, and that had to be this long and this deep, and that's how they modeled the 1 acre. Since then, there has been so much science done that they can put a POUT system, they can put a POUT system on a lot for this big. I don't know how many people have been out to Rome to the golf course. If you go to the side of the golf course by Adams Avenue, you can look in the woods and you can see a solid acre of vent pipes coming out. 1 solid acre of POUT systems for that golf course, for the hotel, for whatever buildings they're using. So that tells me that either Adams County doesn't know what they're doing, or our soils are pretty good for drainage. Agreeing with Rhonda, do we have water problems? Yes, in some places in Saratoga, we definitely do. In my estimation, that's where we should be looking at the 5 acre parcels. That is mine. That is my thought process. Rhonda has hers, and I'm sure Helen has hers. I mean, everybody has their own ideas of what they think is right. What we're trying to do is find a happy medium. I mean, we're not all going to agree, and in this society nowadays, it's I am the boss, I know, do it my way. I mean, for every study that Rhonda had from Point, I could find a study somewhere else that said something different. You know how it is. So, do I agree with Rhonda's findings? Absolutely. Do I believe that she believes it? Absolutely. Do I believe it? I'm a civil engineer, not maybe, so maybe I don't. But I have a daughter who's an environmental biologist. She likes what Rhonda says. So, how it came about, that's how it came about. We had a lot of differing opinions. We had a different board. We had a different plan commission with different ideas. Now, we are different. We have to gel those ideas. And we don't want to do it with one set of people in mind. We want to make as many people happy as we can, and we know we're not going to accomplish everybody happy. So we have to do what is number one, right, and what's fair, and what will still keep Saratoga, Saratoga. Yes, Rhonda?
Help me to understand the changes that are being made. The proposal was for 3 acres. But every study that I have read, they're recommending 5 acres or more. So to a point, that's a compromise already.
when it comes right down to it, none of the land that is within these areas is developed at this point. So it does bring a new concern for groundwater quality and drinking water quality. So it's new development. It's not necessarily based on what I've seen of the maps. It's not of areas that are developed already. This is moving forward in our community, trying to prevent anything from happening. There's no reason, why would you want to pay to clean up your water after you've concentrated too many contaminating factors in an area where there has been none for so many years that it was managed forest? That was the train of thought of every study that I read.
Thank you. All right, so again, how are we gonna move forward here, guys?
I want to hear from Josh. What's your comments on this? You're on the planning and zoning committee.
We have a question over here, sir.
Just a second, we have a board member that's gonna talk here, and then we'll get to that.
So as a plan commission member, as well as a board member, we've got a lot of hours in this. And those numbers that we came up with were numbers that we thought were,
palatable.
yeah, I guess don't even know the word for it, but the most ideal, the advantageous, maybe, I think that's the word. I steal from Doug all the time.
Okay.
So rural residential, you actually, Lorelei, put a purpose in here.
Yes.
To provide a lower density residential land usage, accessory uses, particularly in fringe areas of the town, to be applied to those areas of the town where less density is desired. Further purpose is to help preserve the open space, natural, scenic, and ecological qualities in areas along shorelines and other areas identified by the Plan Commission. So our R1 is to preserve the land, right? And that preserve the
Every
green
district should be,
space.
yes, yes.
So that's why we picked 5 acres. You know,
You're talking about rural preservation.
3 acres.
It's 3 acres.
Oh, I'm sorry. So 3
That's okay.
acres, yes.
That's okay.
But rural preservation even more.
5, yes.
5. So when I see the changes in this document going from 3 and 5 to 2.5 and 2.5,
Okay.
now what's the difference between RR1 and RP?
For lot size, nothing.
So how do we preserve the land if they're the same size?
Well, because they're not the same size entities. If you look at rural preservation, you'll note that rural preservation is probably, I would say 80%, if not 85%, 40-acre parcels. And I would hazard to guess that rural residential is a lot smaller than that.
Okay.
But again, it was just my thought. You have a different, if you want to go back to the original, I'm okay with that.
Well,
But that's not going to change any of the language that I put in there, other than the 2.5 acres.
Well, there's a lot of verbiage that was changed in here that needed to go in there. I don't doubt that a bit for
That
legal
seems to
reasons.
be the bone of contention here.
The
I
verbiage.
change one thing and everything gets all thrown up, but
The thing that I have a problem with the most is the lot size. I mean,
Okay.
we picked those lot sizes for a reason.
Okay.
And we spent a long time talking about why those lot sizes should be like that. So, that's my thoughts.
I guess I have a question. Did the lot sizes bring all of you guys out here today? Is that the only thing that is a concern to you?
Yeah.
So nothing else in this document that Lorelei did is an issue with you guys? Because a lot of what because I went through this thinking,
Yeah,
holy
good
cripes, I'm missing something because, yeah, okay, the lot sizes are a big thing. And I told Lorelei, I don't agree with her, I have agreed with the plan commission, just so you guys all are aware.
And we're still friends.
and we're still friends, and I'm not hostile with her, and I see, and I know that it's one person making a change on a paper, and I am awed, I guess, at the way we came to this. I got in this position not knowing much about zoning. I went and did my own research also and talked, I came from the town of Rome. And their zoning ordinance, I felt, had their thumb over us all the time. And I didn't want that. I moved to Saratoga for the rural preservation, basically. I moved to get away from people. I moved for cheaper taxes also. But I didn't want somebody flocking me with a piece of paper all the time. Or saying I can do this and I can't do that. So when I really studied this thinking, oh my gosh, I am missing something big. Not saying that lot sizes aren't big, because I understand. But I'm thinking there was more to it than just the lot sizes. So I went through all this and I'm like, okay, cryptocurrency mining, okay, well, that's already over my head. But I'm like, okay, that's a definition. I'm looking at other stuff. Well, it's things that were added, probably, I don't know who added blue. Boz. So some stuff was just like get rid of the blue section, but the original plan commission stuff is still there. And I'm going through this, and I even put on here big change because it's all purple. It's Lorelei purple, so I'm like, this is crap probably, right? Well, it's just a project site plan that needs to be in there, it seems like. And it makes all sense to me. I'm like, all right. So I looked for this. And now to get the hatred out of some of you, it seems like, and because she has her opinion on lot sizes with information that you guys didn't have. Do I still agree with the 2.5? No. So, okay. I still like the 3 and the 5. We had a discussion about that, and it was like she doesn't want to prevent people from moving to the town because now they have to buy 5 acres. Well, if you can't afford 5 acres, you shouldn't be building a house. I'm just saying.
That's Brian's opinion.
That's what I think.
There's a lot of opinions.
There's a lot of unforeseen costs. I'm saying if you want to go from like 2.5 acres up to 5.
What if you own 2 acres? Now, how do you get rid of it?
You can sell that. That's grandfathered in, sir. So your acre or 0.8 acres on the lake, you can sell that. That's fine. That's fine. You know, if I for some reason am in rural preservation surrounded by rural residential. I don't know how that happened, and I went and looked at this map, and I don't remember the last time that was updated, or if we're going to be updating it, if we approve this zoning ordinance, or when we approve the zoning ordinance, does that map have to be looked at?
That has to be updated before we can prove this.
So I mean,
because we gotta
if you
know
look
what
at
we're
that, it's
approving.
dotted yellow, green, so I don't understand how we can. I guess, how am I saying this?
Okay, so Ryan asked if there were other items that I changed that you had an issue with. Raise your hand, tell me what it is, and I'll tell you where I got that.
When you, showed the 5 acres coming out of the 40 for 1 acre lots.
That was not me.
That's MFL.
Yeah.
MFL.
That was not me, that was Boz, and that was the plan commission, and they agreed to that.
Okay.
And that's not legal.
Okay, but my thought on that was, I was there when the forester talked, and that 35 acres becomes another plot. It's a separate new plot.
No.
That's what the forester told us.
No, he doesn't even recognize that 5 acre withdrawal until the end of the term of the MFL.
And it's not true. You pay to take it out.
It is true, and I did have a conversation with the DNR yesterday, the whole day,
And I have the witness right here. You can talk to Adam. I mean, if you want to argue with me, Brian, go ahead. Call him. I got the number. It's right here in my phone. You can see where I had numerous conversations with him.
I'm speaking on behalf of everybody that was in the meeting.
I'll tell you what prompted it. Let me tell you what prompted it.
He gave a poor presentation because we all walked away with a different.
I don't think it was a poor presentation. I think we heard, all of us heard what we wanted to hear. So what prompted this? I had a gentleman come in the office yesterday for a building permit. Josh was on vacation and he wanted me to help him fill it out at Dispus on site. So what Dispus is, Department of Safety and Professional Services, when you build a house, you have to file a form online. Most people aren't techie to do that. I've been doing it for years, so it takes me 10 minutes. I said, you got the information, I'll help you. So he came in my office, he said, okay, I got 5 acres. And I said, okay, I need your parcel number. He gave me his parcel number. I said, that's not 5 acres. He says, yes, it is. I just took it out of MFL. I said, okay, where's your CSM? Did you not record it? He said, I don't have to have a CSM. I said, okay, this is something I didn't know. So I called Department of Natural Resources, and he never answers. So I left him a voicemail to have him call me back. And then I proceeded, well, if I need to know this, I'm sure the county needs to know it. So I called Jason. And I said, Jason, is this true? He can take 5 acres out of an MFL and not have to have a CSM. And he said, yeah. I said, what the heck? I said, how do we track that? How do we, as a town, track somebody's 5 acres in the middle of a 40 that takes it out? How do we know that he took it out? Well, I found out today that we get a note from the DNR, a piece of paper that says this guy withdrew 5 acres. He doesn't have to have a CSM.
Doesn't even have to have it surveyed, does he?
He does not even have to have it surveyed. However, if he does have it surveyed, he has to present it to the Department of Natural Resources. Now, this raised a lot of questions for me as a building inspector and as a zoning administrator, because I look at it as far as setbacks, lot lines, driveways, access. How do I know that he even came and got a building permit if he builds out in the middle of the 40? And for the assessor, how is he gonna tax that guy if he doesn't know where that 5 acres is? Because the back of his property hits a stream, the front of his property is on the road, and he might have took the 5 acres out of the middle, and they're all taxed different because lakefront property, of course, is higher. So you can see the conundrum there. But that is the truth. And that's how it happened. So anybody confused? Because I'll tell you, I was a building inspector for a lot of years, and it didn't make sense to me. And not only that, when that ceases to be an MFL, that 5 acres is back in there. Yeah, isn't that funny? Because now he's not at 5 acres, now he's got the 40 again. Because we use that parcel number to give him the building. I have never in my life had this happen. I mean, in all the years.
So that's my question.
Sure.
And I totally agree with the way you presented it before, in that you wanted to kind of capitalize these building areas. But how do we prevent someone from taking another 5 acres another place if it doesn't have any regulation that stops?
That's a really good question, and one that I have on the voicemail to the DNR.
Well, I want to know how I control his property.
There you go.
If you want to control mine, how do I control yours?
Well, I am the zone, and
Well, he is zoned. If you have any land in Saratoga, you are zoned. It's just that you can't change that zoning
So if he takes land out of an MFL, if anybody takes land out of an MFL, it reverts back to the MFL. Unless he has a CSM done. If the CSM is done, then he can ask for a rezone. Did that confuse you more?
Yeah.
Good, because that's how it's got to be too. But that is a fact.
So there is no way to ensure that these lots are going to be encapsulated into one 5-acre parcel. That is what we were talking about at first.
Well, that's not really true. When you take out now, Sheldon, you're gonna have to tell me this, but I believe if you take out 5 acres out of MFL, it has to be contingent, right? It has to be
what?
all contiguous.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
It has to be in whole acres. It can be 1 through 5, maximum is 5 per parcel. And it's
Once in the lifetime of the MFL, correct?
correct, yeah.
So if he takes out 1 acre this year, that's it for the life of that MFL. He can't take out another acre next year and another acre.
Right.
It's
No.
5 or less once.
But yes, but the thing is that the forester told us that now becomes a 35-acre parcel, not a 40, a 35-acre parcel. So
In the eyes
it
of the
would
DNR,
not-
in the eyes of the DNR, not in the eyes of the town of Saratoga. Or the county.
Well, that has to be very clear in the statement, because if a developer came in and developed one pot of 5 homes, 5-acre lot, then that next plot becomes 35 acres.
The only way that the person who owns the MFL that has withdrawn the land can sell that is to actually have a CSM done.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
then he becomes just like you or anybody else who has 5 acres.
But he can remove 40 acres at a time.
No.
To develop for a house or for.
That's a matter.
He can remove 5 acres to do whatever he wants to do with it. It doesn't have to be to build a house. It could be to build a garage. It could be to sit on it.
How could people buy 40s of land and bulldoze them for farm fields?
They're taking the whole complete thing out of MFL and paying back taxes.
That's what I mean.
For 10 years.
Oh.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
What would stop them from building the whole thing up?
Well, they pay a penalty, they pay back taxes. Yeah, I don't know. What stops anybody from selling their land?
Nothing, but if we have zoning, then we know.
Zoning's gonna stop you from selling your land?
No, it's gonna say that you have to build on a 5-acre lot or a 3-acre.
Well, I agree with
It's
that.
gonna keep you from putting 40 houses on a 40, is what it's gonna do.
I would hope that our other ordinances would prevent that. I hope we don't have just one ordinance that's gonna hold all of our teeth. Do we not have driveway ordinances or,
Well, we have road ordinance.
land ordinance we're working on?
But
land division? We can't just rely on one ordinance. I'm gonna tell you that right now. That's just not good town government. Sir?
I don't want somebody to come out, I moved out to Saratoga to get away from it. I got 40 acres, I want subdivisions all around me. I want
Okay.
people, that's my call.
Okay, fair enough. Then, I guess, go ahead. Rob?
My name's Rob Worski. I am a member of the Planning and Zoning Board. And I'm speaking for myself, not the rest of the board. So, my thoughts of how this came about, this 5 acres, and it seems to be
Yeah, I do have Boz's records and I have read them.
Sure.
So,
As far as the borders go, when you look on this, our land zoning map, and anybody can get at this on our website. Yellow is rural residential 1, and green is rural preservation. Anybody can look at this at any time. When you purchase a piece of land in the town of Saratoga, you know exactly what you're zoned. residential, rural preservation. So if you're on one side of the street, you know what you are, if you're on the other. So making the street, well, because this guy's got 2.5, this guy should be able to have 2.5. That, at some point, there has to be division lines. You buy that property, you know that up front. So trying to make it fair for two different buyers, one on one side of the street, one on the other, I don't see how that.
That's going forward, Rob. I agree with that.
Okay. So this is my spin on how we come up with the 5 acres. First of all, the town's comprehensive plan, which is, we're supposed to be following as a zoning plan.
I have that here.
Some of this-
Don't even go there, Rob.
Let him speak. I would like to say something.
So
If he
anyways,
has the
Please
floor,
sit down.
no. If he has the floor, let him speak. Let him speak, and then you talk. And as far as, I would like to say also, if you feel threatened by someone saying something, please don't. You were awful offensive to Mr. Dimick, and I think that that is kind of over the top. Now let him finish. Thank you.
Please continue, Rob.
so from what I understand, some of our guidelines for making our decisions as planning and zoning are to work off the comprehensive plan of the town. Now, goals and objectives on that page, the comprehensive plan specifically says that we're supposed to minimize the potential impact on natural resources, environment corridors, or habitat areas when evaluating potential residential, commercial, industrial, and intensive agricultural uses, meaning lots of houses. One of the policies is support the preservation of forest lands for continued forest use. The town will place a high priority on directing development away from areas that have been historically productive forest lands, which is our rural preservation areas. We're supposed to discourage the placement of new development in the middle of parcels of forest land to protect the continuity of the forest land areas for future use. Now, those are two things out of our comprehensive plan that I personally voted yes for this 5 acre parcels. The DNR, from what I spoke to them also, when they came up with, when you want to pull, if you have a 40 acre parcel of managed forest land, you want to pull 5 acres out of that to build a house on, you can pull maximum of 5 acres out of that 40 acres and not get, you don't have to pay the back taxes on that. You don't, you get 5 acres, not have to pay the taxes on that, but you do not have to pay the forest taxes. And the reason they come up with that is so that you can build a house on that 5 acres, and they scan the whole state, lots of townships that have MFL lands, that have lots of MFL lands, and that was the basis on their decision to come up with this 5 acres. Because most of those townships had 5 acre minimum areas in group preservation. So that was another reason. We had a public hearing on this. And we came up with a survey of questions. The board come up with the survey questions ourselves, and we handed out survey questions. And we collected them as people walked out. We took that into consideration, both of those people that were at the hearing. We do have 74 40-acre parcels in rural preservation land that has no right-of-way frontage, meaning they have a public road going by on one side of the 40 acres. Now, if we split that 40 up along that road right-of-way in 5 acre parcels versus 2.5, if we go 2.5 versus 5, however you want to divide it, 74 of these 40 acre parcels are road right. We could have a house every 300 feet on a 2.5 acre lot. We've listened to the townspeople, and we don't want to live in, this is my assumption, that's why I moved out here. We don't want to live in town, and we don't want to live in Grand Rapids, and we don't want to live where it's crowded. 2.5 acres and 300-foot frontage on all these 74 parcels. We might as well live in developments. That's my opinion on the 5 acre parcels, is to keep our rural areas rural that they are right now. If you look on this land zoning map of the town of Saratoga, it also shows in the yellow area, it shows all of the division of land on it with lines. And you can see on this perfectly 5 acre parcels, 10 acre parcels, 2.5 acre parcels. Most of the yellow rural residential is already 5 and 10 acre parcels. Most of it is. And I encourage anybody to look on that map online and look at the small squares. They're 5 and 10 acre parcels. So why would we go from 5 and 10 acre parcel on rural residential and take our rural preservation land, our forest land that we want to try to preserve some of it, and make it into even smaller lots than what we have already split up in rural residential? I'm questioning some of this reasoning here, it's all. We just felt that as a town, we wanted to keep some of it rural. And still allow buildings, still allow development, but in more of a way where it doesn't conflict with the people who already live there.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak? Can you see them, Doug?
I wish a lot of these people that are so worried about my 60 acres and how it's divided up were just as worried about the solar farm I got for the neighbor.
Yes.
It looks like you have a great group of residents here. I'm curious, as a resident myself.
I'm sorry, please. Okay, go ahead.
We've heard from members of the planning commission and the board, and I appreciate all of that. But with all these residents that are here, it really sounds like they're here for a reason. Is there a vote that, just out of curiosity, we can see? What's your thoughts on the existing 1 acre versus going to the 3 to 5? I'd love to hear from the general public too, if that's okay.
I don't have a problem with it. That's the board.
No.
Okay. I guess we're gonna ask people that are in, that are actually here, please raise your hand if you, this is just a general question, this is by no means a vote, Bill, but, yeah?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Certainly go ahead with that, but I don't think a planning commission or a board should make a final decision. I don't think you're at that point anyway. Based on 80 people?
Yeah, I agree.
Then I think you ask the whole town.
Yeah.
So,
I agree, Bill. I thank you, Bill. I agree. But in the interest of getting anything going here, how many people agree with the 1, 3, and 5 acres?
We all voted on mine.
Or larger.
Or larger.
Is that part of the decision making?
That survey went to the.
I don't understand the question.
So the proposal from the original plan commission was that the rural residential stay at 1 acre parcels, the
No,
rural
suburban.
suburban. No,
Residential suburban.
Yeah, residential suburban.
Residential suburban.
right, that, I said rural residential, is that 1, right?
No.
That's at 3.
That's
That's
at
rural
3.
suburban.
Rural suburban's 1.
Residential suburban.
Residential, yeah, residential suburban.
Is that currently a 1 acre close to Drake County?
That's the smallest, subdivisions.
And we're not asking to change that.
What is the technical name?
RS1.
RS1 is at 1. RR1 is proposed at 3. RP is proposed at 5. Commercial is proposed at 1. And truth be known, I have a problem with that too, so. So that was the original proposal. We're just asking how many people agree with that.
Or
I asked for the original proposal. So it's overwhelming. How many people would like to see it remain the same as what it is at 1 acre throughout the municipality? Okay, so that is a minority of the people in attendance. Okay, so again, on the table here, board members.
you ask how you want more?
Well, that's kind of inconsequential because that was only the two proposals out there. So, Plan Commission and Town Board, I guess Plan Commission, we heard from you. Town Board, we need to do something. And apparently, I've been doing enough talking, so please, say what you got to say. And Bruce, I'm sorry if I offended you. I will publicly apologize.
I have a thick skin.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Ellen?
What's the age for a duplex though?
It's different in each district, but yeah. All right, Chase?
Yeah.
I can't catch you. I got a microphone, I hit you. It's different in each district, I guess you'd have to read it. So, where were we with this? I'm waiting for my board members to speak.
Duplex is 5 acres.
In which one?
And RR1.
Okay. So in RR1, it's 5 acres.
Well,
In RS1,
2 acres.
2 acres. In RP,
5
5 acres. Okay, 5 acres. Okay.
I guess I don't see us as anywhere close to actually making a decision.
So
And there
I'm
are changes
asking,
that need to be
should we
made.
send it back to the plan commission or should we keep it and keep hashing it over here?
Well, I think there's changes that need to be made at the planning commission on certain items with the guidance of the lawyer.
Okay.
Or are you talking about just lot size?
No, I'm talking about letting them do it because apparently there are some that feel that I'm biased and I don't want that. I don't want that to be taken into account. I'm sorry, Josh, go ahead.
I think Gordy said that we, as a plan commission, would take certain things back and hash it out and come up with something better. As a plan commission member, and I'm only speaking for myself, but I thought it was pretty good when we brought it to the board. I liked the way it was, with the way we had it, so.
If you can get through the legal stuff, that's wrong. You guys do that.
And that's all we've got that list from the attorney in an email. You know, those get addressed, the legal issues, or is that something you want us to address here at the board?
Okay, on the advice of the attorney, if there are major changes or revisions that need to be done, it should go back to the plan commission. So I am looking to send it back to the plan commission. I am sorry.
With suggestions?
With suggestions, and the suggestions will be from the attorney. You have them in front of you, there are approximately 5 pages. Including the proposed zoning regulation for non-conforming uses, structures, and lots that was presented by the attorney a couple weeks ago. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Roger, go ahead. Raise your hand. Can't see you. Oh, I'm sorry. Talking to Josh.
So that's what I was gonna emphasize, that Gordy said that they would take it back with our earmarked recommendations from the board. So what does the board want to do? You wanna sit here and go through all those tonight? Or do you wanna call a special meeting? Or do you wanna do it at the next town board meeting? I guess we gotta come up with a consensus here on how to proceed.
I think we're beyond doing all those changes tonight. we can do that at a special meeting, take that on ourselves, but is that going to be considered major changes? I guess we can make those changes and present that back to the commission to at least get an opinion on what's there.
I'm gonna tell you, I want to go back to plan commission because the revisions that we made, or that I made on the advice of the attorney, included adding the addition of this non-conforming, the addition of site plan review. That wasn't an addition, that was just a modification. I just made it in a better working order for whoever has to enforce it. Wireless communication has to go in. The rezoning, that has to go in. The cell tower, transmission towers, that has to go in. And when I say they have to go in, it's law. We can't change it. We can't take it out. We have to leave it back in there. So, and those would be considered major changes to me. So in stating that that is a major change, I will make a motion that it go back to the planning commission for review of the attorney's recommendations. And then with the assistance of the attorney at your discretion. And I will be advisory as the zoning administrator.
We have a question, ma'am.
After we have this motion finished, please. So I made the motion, is there a second? Okay, motion,
We're looking for them going over the entire document again, not
only what was recommended by the attorney.
recommended by the
Yeah.
attorney.
They have definite instructions.
Gordy, is that targeted enough for you? I know that's a shotgun target. It's not pinpoint.
Like I said before, I think we take each one of those recommendations.
Yeah.
But, are you asking us to go back, to the 1, 3, and 5 acres? Rehab that? You're doing a good job
No.
right here.
No, that is not something we want. We don't want anything rehashed, okay? We want this to be looked at for the legalities. The legalities are coming from the attorney. So take the document that you guys submitted to the town board and go.
That's fine, I just don't see any big controversy on those items.
Okay.
I think we're back to this 1, 3, and 5 acres, the big issue you guys.
Would it be appropriate to get the opinion of each person on the board as far as
Yes.
that specific item? And,
Chase, take over, please.
okay. Well, I think, Roger, did you give your opinion on that yet?
On what, Chase?
On the 1, 3, and 5 acres specific.
I did. I voted for the 1, 3, and the 5 acceptance of that acreage.
We've heard from Brian and we've heard from Josh about that they agree with planning commissions. I would say, in general, I would agree with them too. I'll be honest, I don't have much of an opinion about the 2.5 and the RR1, but if anything, I'd like to see the rural preservation a little big. I think the 5 is a compromise, so I'm not saying I wouldn't vote for that, but rural preservation is to keep it rural. So you've now got the 4 of us, and you do have the chairmans too. To be honest, I think the lot size is really not on the table with what the board thinks, as far as changing it from what you guys originally had. So I think, as far as what most of the people showed up to contest, I think that's kind of a dead issue. So, let me take Rhonda's.
Yeah.
Rhonda, go ahead.
Thank you. And suggestion is not to step on toes, it just might help to conglomerate everything. Essentially, something that might work to clear things up for the board and the planning commission is to bring the board, the entire board, together with the plan commission and the town's attorney. So those clarifications are made in front of everyone, so everyone 100% understands. It's just a suggestion. And again, no intention of stepping on toes, but it is a way to bring everyone together and understand from the source how things need to be done, in what manner. And then it's easy to move forward, the plan commission and the board, to do what they do with respect for one another and the process.
My toes are just fine. Thank you very much, Rhonda. I appreciate the help.
I will make one comment to that. I very much like that suggestion that as a board and the planning commission, we come together to try to hash that out at least at one meeting. But if we do that, there's a lot of issues there, and we probably will have to limit public comment at that meeting and take those, take that afterwards once we have the document together, because there's going to be too much discussion already with enough people. Probably will not be able to take that.
But that way, the board and the plan commission are
Right.
understanding what Nick Flanagan needs from the document to stand the way that it should stand.
Right.
This is always gonna be a work in progress.
And I would think it would be a closed meeting between the plan
No,
commission and town
that
board?
can't be a closed meeting. That would have to be an open meeting. There's nothing in that would
Okay.
that would qualify for a closed meeting. But we can, at that point, limit the public comment, where we've been trying to be very open, and I would like to continue that with most of our board.
Yeah, I agree.
But at that specific meeting, I think we have to very much limit the comment, so we can get through the discussion we need to.
Okay.
And I hope, if anybody has a problem with that, let me know, but we just need to get through a discussion with that.
Bill? Go ahead, Bill.
So, Madam Chair, just point of order, you made a motion, there was no second, so I.
And I stated it died
That
for lack of
motion,
support.
I
Yeah.
missed that, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's totally fine. You're good.
Rhonda had a good suggestion.
I
here.
agree.
You still need to find a path forward. So somebody make another motion, look for a second.
Yeah.
Discuss the motion and second.
I agree.
think a lot of people sitting here want to see some path forward.
Okay. I will make a motion that we put a joint planning commission and town board meeting together to discuss specifically any legal changes that may need to happen with the document.
With the attorney present.
With the attorney present, yes. And that would not be kicking it back to you guys, but it would be a joint discussion. Is that good, Gordy? Is that as good as we can, I think that's as good as we can get it for you. Sure. Okay, did you get that, Paula? Well, okay, it's recorded, I suppose. Was it clear enough, I guess? Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Chase, a second by Josh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All against? Motion carried. Okay, great compromise, I love it. All right,
We're through
now,
that.
now we gotta find a date.
Well, I think that's gonna be,
Contact the attorney.
Yeah.
we're gonna
Yeah.
have to put that on Nick to come up
Okay.
with something that he for sure can make, and
Put it on
we
my,
need him there. That's,
I'll call him
if
tomorrow.
he's not gonna be there, that can't,
I'll call him.
so
All right.
we do have a question back there. You
I didn't.
Ask the question, it's not relevant to this, but
speak up, or we need to get you a
I just got a question on, this isn't relevant to this, but the solar farm or the battery,
Containment area, yeah,
is that ongoing or is that?
it's ongoing. It's nothing we can stop.
I'm
We're
I'm just
taking-
curious because Alliant doesn't seem to care about, taking care of what they have. So why, as a resident of Saratoga, I'm really concerned that they're gonna take care of They're battery stations.
Just so we're clear, what exactly do you mean by not taking care of what they have?
Well, they're-
Not criticizing
No,
anything,
no, no.
just want to
It's
clear
like
understand.
They have sun trackers on their solar panels, and to the east side, at least 20% or not more are no longer tracking. There's no maintenance people out there, doesn't seem to be a big deal. That gets me concerned that if you're not taking care of the little things, you're putting a battery station in. They come here and they give a great presentation, the town of Saratoga and the residents, but we don't look at the little things. And I'm going by there and I go by there frequently. And I know it's been out for at least 2 months, at least,
Which side was that?
on the east
On the
side,
east side.
Yep.
Is that more towards the northern or southern
the
portion?
northern part.
Northern part?
And there's been other ones that are out, but they had time to fix out.
Yeah.
But it's concerning, as the same, as a Saratoga resident, you're not taking care of things that you said when we went to the meeting.
I
You're not
agree.
maintenance out and taking care of it.
I think everybody up there would agree with you and that does need to be looked into and addressed as well as we can. Unfortunately, a lot of that is under federal or state regulations, but we will certainly look into it.
I just, I might just throw this out. And I'm not going to, oh, excuse me, I'm not trying to defend Alliant. However, sometimes when the sun is shining or the wind is blowing, these folks are making too much power. And they have to, they can't overload the grid. So I'm not saying that that's the case here. I don't know. I don't have the facts. But if you go through Illinois, for instance, if you drive where all the windmills are, they often have whole fields of them turned off. And then you would say, well, why is that? It's because the grid can't handle it. They're making more power than anybody wants at this point. And it's mainly a grid problem, so I would just suggest that might be the case if you do not know the truth.
I can tell you it's not the case. I worked in the power department for a lot of years, it's not the case.
Well, whatever the case is, we'll look into it, see. Might take a little bit, but if you check back a little bit later, we can.
If they drive down there, 20% east side.
Ranger Road, where we, north side. Okay, we had another question?
Jody Wilcox, I'm an industrial electrician and work in maintenance. Now, I want to make you guys understand that I deal with electricity every day. And I do agree, there is, when times they do shut down part of the grid. And until we talk to Alliant and find out why these aren't tracking or what's going on, we can't assume anything. But you also need to understand that the demand of getting parts and repairmen is like 4 to 5 months minimum because of China and COVID and all the resources. I know this for a fact because of ordering parts. I could get a water pump. It takes me 6 months to get a water pump. I need it today. The supply and demand out there because of COVID has stressed everything. So you need to understand, they're probably not trying not to fix it. We don't know, but until we talk to them, don't assume that they're not trying to fix it. It might be because of parts, it might be because they never had the parts and weren't able to complete the project. There are times where these things sit for months because they ran out of parts and didn't have them in the first place. So until we know from Alliance, please don't get down on it. They are trying their best. And that's what we all need to understand and work with each other, okay?
I'm also an industrial electrician. And I understand exactly where you're coming from, but I also know that if you have a brand new solar farm, you just put up, if you have government money in Saratoga, and taxes, you keep those parts on hand.
Problem, they probably
You build
need
it.
to have them, yes.
Build it.
You might not get it.
Madam Chair, can I speak? I'd just like to thank everybody for coming here today. Let's pull us back to the table. Let's try and find a date where we meet with the Plan Commission. Personally, I see no reason why we couldn't have voted on the original ordinance that come back out of the planning and zoning, and it would have been a working document. We could have come back and added these other things in as a legal document. You know, I appreciate you looking into it, Lorelei, but we're just dragging this out longer and farther, and, you know, we need to get this done. Thank you.
I appreciate your comment, Roger. Okay, so that being said, we are going to set this aside, and we will be getting a date from the attorney, and then I will get with you. You have a, Gordy, you have a meeting next week, Wednesday?
Right.
So, well, I'll give you a few dates, and then by Wednesday, you should be able to get with your plan commission and see if they can make that after I talk to you.
I mean, with the attorney.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to the attorney. I'll have Paulette send an email to my board, and you can contact your plan commissions. All right, I hope everybody had an exciting evening this evening, and I really do thank everyone for coming, regardless of what side of the table you sit on. And we are all trying to do our best. Plan commission, town board, even though it sounds like sometimes we're not, but we are. Items for future meetings. So you have all heard about the sign. We've talked about, I hope you all noticed our driveway was all nice and pretty, our parking lot. The helicopter is thankful. What else is going on, guys? Anything? Roger, how you doing on this, you talked to, what, the boat landing? Anything going there? Still work in progress? All right.
You got future, are we on that now?
Yep, that's what we're on.
All right, I would like to see Ranger Road, we've paved, the motion was made to do that, and with approval go into county. I would like to see that brought back up on the next meeting, just to make a change of motion to use our funds.
Okay. Duly noted. Is that all the housekeeping we got? Anybody know anything that's going on the future agenda right now? I'm sorry?
Employee handbook.
The employee handbook is for the next meeting. She's got that already.
When we want to review the applications for the zoning.
Good point. I wanted to bring that up tonight. Thank you, Roger. So we've had one applicant for the zoning administrator position, and we've had an applicant for the part-time public works. The zoning administrator position closes this coming week. I believe it.
We need to schedule a time because she was out.
Oh, that's
And we were gonna try to do a closed session for interviews.
right.
But we did repost the public works and posted Monday, Tuesday, this week in the paper.
Thank you, Paulette, reminded me. So we had an application for a part-time public works, and we've also had an application for the zoning administrator position. We were holding off until they both closed so that we could do one closed meetings to save the taxpayers money, and also the board members' time. And then we will do both interviews during that time period. We did, however, repost the part-time position due to the applicant that we received. And so that will close next week again.
Yeah, I think they till Friday.
So I believe we'll probably set those out for about 2 weeks. So that's kind of the future of the hiring of staff here. I think that's all we got, unless somebody else has something else they want to bring forward. We're going to set a date for the next meeting, 2 weeks from today. 16th. That will be Wednesday, August 16th, 6 p.m. I'm sure every one of you will be here.
Come on. Where else can you get your excitement for the week, right?
Waste management's gonna be here.
Yes. Yes. Okay, does anyone have any comments that, of subjects that we haven't covered, things that are distressing you or that you are concerned about in Saratoga or that you would like to address? Yes, sir.
The only thing I'd like to say is that it's nice if we got a question about like where our land is or where, how it's zoned, that we can find out a little bit more about it.
You can call me.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
Everybody has my phone number, and I actually took it upon myself to have some cards made up for people that come in when I don't happen to be here, but there is a gentleman I want to give this to. The gentleman who had a question about the electric part with the solar, is he still here? He left, darn it. Okay, I'm hoping, I wanted him to call me, because I'll try to get a hold of Alliant tomorrow. So I guess going forward, everybody knows my phone number, or at least should, or it's on the website, it's on the door, anywhere in Saratoga. So we have the meeting set them for 6 p.m. and Gordy, we might be working another meeting.
I would just like to ask that the public comment be put in as an agenda item, because I'm leery of bringing things up at a time when I don't know that they belong. So.
Okay. Ma'am, did you have a question? Okay, Rhonda?
I was just wondering if anyone had reached out to Stafford and Rosenbaum, Paul Kent, or Larry Konopacki about looking over the document once. I don't know if it would need to be done before the board votes on it or if it's after. Again, just to make sure that none of those subtleties are taken out of the zoning ordinance. They are not all just in a certain portion of it. They're woven into it.
I did take your advice the last time you brought that forward, Rhonda, and I will make sure that that is done. I thank you very much. Yes. Oh, that's a good point. Thank you, Roger. So the last part about this previous solar plan, the one that's finishing up here, is a decommissioning plan. And for those that aren't aware of what that is, it's when the time is up. If they have not renewed their solar permit, how are they going to dismantle it, get rid of it, and what are we going to be left with, and all of that. So that's called the decommissioning plan. The Alliant has presented us with a decommissioning plan. I have reviewed it in my limited knowledge, and I have then talked to our attorney, Larry, and he suggested that we consult with another consulting firm to take a look at it. And looking for consulting firms that were used to working with these large-scale solar arrays, I came up with one in Virginia and one in, I don't know where the other one was from, but it was hard for me to find someone. So I went back to Alliant and I said, hey, this is my problem. I believe you, but I want to make sure that the town of Saratoga is covered. Can you tell me, can you give me a list of consulting firms that I can, interview or talk to? And they did. They were very amicable. And I have reached out to a few of the consulting firms, and in discussion with Larry, it's been decided that with all the questions that I have asked along the way, that the answers that I have gotten from other consulting firms, we may just compile a list of those questions and have them be asked, because this is not a locked-in document. This document is reviewed every 2 years. So going forward, that's kind of where we are with the decommissioning plan. Is that good enough, Roger? Okay. So, yes, sir.
I had one question. Some years ago,
Nepo Lake Development went in and they went from the village of Port Edwards to Saratoga.
Yep,
The land was Port Edwards land, Saratoga, it went to Saratoga.
temporarily, yes,
And I guess I lost track, I thought it was a 10-year deal.
yes.
Is that going back, or is it about time up, or what's happening?
So at the end of the year, we will receive a document, or this is how it's supposed to go per state statutes. We will receive a document from the Village of Port Edwards that relinquishes the rights that they gave to us to collect taxes and to just kind of take care of their land for them. And they in turn will get all the tax money and take over.
That's not.
Edwards will take it back?
No, January 1st, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll collect 2023 stuff.
Yes, we do collect the taxes for this year, yeah.
Yeah, this is the end.
Yeah. Do I see ramifications from that? Oh, yeah. But,
Orders.
you know, it's kind of like what Rhonda stated, buyer beware. We knew what we were getting into, and this is kind of the end result. So, I don't know how many are aware of what I'm talking about. Everybody knows? Okay. So for the gentleman who doesn't know, what happened is we had land out around the lakes, just like the village of Port Edwards did. But the village of Port Edwards, their tax rate is substantially higher than ours. So they approached us, well, actually the developer approached us and asked us if we would take these lots under our wing for 10 years. So in other words, let them be taxed at our tax rate. And then at the end of the 10 years, we give them back. And in return, Saratoga said, okay, but you're gonna give us money for doing that, right? And they said, oh yeah, we're gonna develop all these lots and we're gonna give you lots of money. Well, they didn't give us lots of money. They gave us some money.
$500 a lot.
Yeah, and now the 10 years is up, but realistically, if I was one of those people that bought one of those lots and did not know that my taxes were gonna triple, I might be a little hyper, and that's what's gonna happen. So we have to be aware that this is going on. Now, in the developer's defense, he did say that these people that buy these lots will be notified, and it is in their HMO documentation, so probably that be the back page of that document, but it is what it is. Yes, sir.
So how much of that land along the lake is in that?
They're not all lake lots, but how many lots is there?
Well, I don't have a number.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's the area north of Town Line Road to the east of Highway 13.
Yeah.
It's also the east.
Yeah.
I think there might be a couple lots on the other side,
Correct.
on the north end too, but there's very few on that side.
Would I-
mostly on the
We
east side there.
missed if I said
If
30
you search
lots.
any parcel 18-1,
Yeah,
that's what all the boundary agreement parcels are.
so if your parcel number is 1800, you're good, you're golden. If 1801, you're golden. But if it's 181,
That's boundary agreement parcels.
so, no. But that's, you know, that's water under the bridge, and January 1st, we're gonna hear about it. So, any other questions?
That's quite a loss of revenue for Saratoga then also, isn't it?
Not as bad as you think.
We will,
it would be.
excuse me, we will lose some revenue, but, if they didn't develop all the lots, not like that was initially thought, so,
Keep in mind, only 10 to 11% of your taxes go to the town of Saratoga.
yeah, we don't get
The
money.
rest of it all goes to the county and school districts and mid-state.
We try to get your money, but they don't give it to us. So, yeah, anybody else? I would like to say hi to a lot of people that I haven't seen for a lot of years. I see Gary and Sal, and, yeah. So, hello, everybody, and please come back.
I make a motion to adjourn, I'll second.
We have a motion by Roger, a second by Josh to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye. Those against, all passed.